Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. This would be sensational if he makes it. And do you know what? He has made it. Smiles will be out at 18 years and 227 days old. Max Verstappen wins a Formula One Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. Hamilton has more wins than any other driver in Formula One history. And he is not done yet.
Hello, welcome to Getting a Grip F1, powered by the Inner Sanctum. I'm your host, Joshua Wells, and today I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Jessica Fisher. We're super excited to have US WSeries driver Sabré Cook on the show today. The 26-year-old from Colorado is working hard both on and off the track as a driver and mechanical engineer. We spoke to Sabré about her dreams of becoming an IndyCar World Champion, what racing means to her, and how she is changing the face of women's racing.
Reigning S2 national champion, Sabré Cook. Sabré Cook back and home behind the wheel, that CRT shifter, and she is looking good. Sabré Cook coming after her.
Once you get up to speed like that, there's nothing else like it, and it puts a smile on my face. I'm very self-motivated, very determined, very focused.
Sabré Cook decided to take it right back at Leesman.
I stay with problems longer, and I don't give up. That's one of my biggest things, and that's honestly what's gotten me to this point.
All right, Sabré, well, welcome to the show. So it's clear that racing is a huge part of your life. Not only are you a qualified mechanical engineer, but you're one of the world's, I guess, best women's drivers. I just want to know, where did this love of the sport or racing begin for you?
Well, I guess it was kind of, I was definitely born into it. I was born on the day that my parents, actually, they used to run like a supercross event, and my mom had to be taken to the hospital, like from the track to the hospital. So it was definitely brought on through my family's love of it and involvement in it. I grew up running around a karting track because my dad, after he retired from racing motorcycles, he found karting and then got me and my brother involved in it when I was about 8 years old. I got my first kart and absolutely loved it and scared the crap out of myself, but eventually worked my way back up to where I was doing well, and then decided when I was about 13 or so that this was something that I think I could do for the rest of my life, and it's just progressed from there.
I guess if we look back at your go-karting career, what are some of your highlights of that sort of part of your life? I know a lot of racers reflect on their go-karting as something they really fondly look back on. So take us down memory lane with you and your go-karting. What are some experiences you'll always hold with you?
Big, I guess, results that stand out in my mind. When I was 13, I won the Tag USA World Championships. And after I crossed the finish line, it had been a very stressful weekend leading up to qualifying, and then I was able to put it together and then just dominate the weekend. And I just remember thinking all the heartache, all the pain, all the struggle was worth it. And that was when I decided that I loved motorsports so much, and it was going to be a part of my life for the foreseeable future. And I think what made that moment special too is, my dad was my mechanic, and we both had it was just us working together as hard as we could to figure out how to go faster and win the weekend. So that was a special moment. And I have tons of memories of with just not racing, but just being around the track with all the amazing people and families that you meet in karting, and just the strong community that you have. And I guess another one is when I won the 2012 Super Pro Tour National Championship, and I was the first female to ever do so. And when they did the awards presentation, the entire room gave me a standing ovation. So for me, that was just, I felt something special, and I hoped, and I've been told by younger girls that were there to witness it, that it was, inspired them to keep going with their karting careers. So stuff like that really sticks in your mind. But I guess those are probably the top two that I can think of.
Would you say that was the moment that you realized you could turn this into a career?
I guess when I was maybe when I was 13, I realized that this is something that I could turn into a career. That was probably when I realized that.
So just running down the list, you've achieved so much, including being an 8-time Colorado state champion, 3-time tag US champion, the first female to qualify for a KZ World Championship main event. You were one of 18 women selected to compete in the first ever WSeries championship, which was running in 2019. And obviously you won the WSeries Striving Forward Award for most passes during the 2019 season. And that's just to name a few. So what has given you the incredible drive to not only be in the car or a car, but to constantly achieve the best?
I think on it, I don't know if this is a good reasoning, but I just feel like my personality type, I like to do things to the very best of my abilities. So I almost like obsess over it. And if I'm not the best at something, and if I'm not doing things to what I think is my full potential, then that sort of just pushes me to figure out a way to improve in all the areas that I'm lacking. So for me, I think it's just part of who I am.
And I guess this might relate to the next question, but we had a chat to an Australian driver, Caitlin Wood. You're probably very familiar with her, but she said she's faced a few hurdles simply just being a woman that some of her male counterparts potentially didn't need to. So have you faced that same adversity through your career and obviously working your way up the ladder?
Definitely. On the track, I mean, you get competitors that treat you differently or try to take advantage of you on track, or try to think they can get away with taking you out and such things like that. But then off the track, I mean, while it does bring attention that you're a female and you think it's easier for us to get sponsors because of that, then there's also companies that don't want to invest in a female because they don't see it sometimes as solid of a investment as if it were a male driver. And then you get unfortunate situations that I hope most girls don't have to deal with, but sadly I think it's more common than not, where you get uncomfortable attention from certain people, and so you have to kind of make sure you never put yourself in unfortunate or vulnerable situations.
I guess there is a misconception out there that it might be easier for women to attract sponsorships in 2021. So I think, is that about just leading forward with a platform like a series like WSeries? Do you think more exposure like that is going to help in some ways really rectify that misconception and potentially even prove that, drivers are drivers, there's no genders out there?
Yeah, I think WSeries is a big leading factor in improving the women's perception in motorsports. So I think that's a big part of it. But also, I think what's really going to help is, the women that are involved as CEOs and big heads of these companies. We really need them to start stepping up and investing more in women in sports and in the right things. And I think they already are. It's just, it just takes time for big things to happen.
Yeah, well, potentially you're all just changing the game one day at a time, which is great. And I guess what would you say to little girls or even women at the moment out there who want to be just like you and start becoming competitive in the car or karting field?
Best advice I can give is that never give up, because it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. That's life. That's good advice for life. And just really remember that you control your perspective and you control how you deal with things, whether it may not feel like you can't control your emotions, but you can control how you respond to certain situations. And just make sure you find good, trustful people to put around you and that help you put a plan together early on in order to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. What would you say it was like to compete in the first ever WSeries, which was in 2019?
Competing in the first season of WSeries was obviously amazing. It was a dream come true for many of us on the grid, because I think in a way it saved a lot of our careers, or it really pushed them forward drastically compared to what we were doing, because there's a good portion of us that were on the grid that never had the funding to do a full season in such a top professional series and in such amazing cars. So it was an amazing experience, and just being able to to even go through that with other women that had similar backgrounds to you, that in itself was something special, because usually we don't have that. So it was nothing short of amazing.
So you ended up finishing 12th with 3 top 10 finishes and won the most passes award. Would you say it was more of like a learning experience?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely a lot of learning, big learning curve, especially since I went into the season as the least experienced driver on the grid. So it was awesome. And I just tried to focus on moving forward every race and focusing on just my performance rather than like stressing out about, getting on the podium, because I think if I just improved, the overall core basics and my skills, then the results will come in time. So I'm hoping to put that all together and show what I can do.
Well, clearly 2020 was a write-off for everyone and every sport around the world, but you're back in 2021, which is awesome to see. Like, what are your goals going into the second ever series of WSeries?
Goals, I would say I'm going to still push to develop myself as a driver, learn all the new tracks, and focus I hope to be able to, finish in the top 5 at least. I don't want to obviously set too high of expectations, because obviously there's some girls that have tons of experience. They've been on the tracks, and they get a lot more seat time than the rest of us. So I know it's not going to be an easy championship, but I'm going to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible, and look forward to giving everyone back in the US some good results to cheer for.
And is there an element of, pride in the fact that you are going to be, at this stage, the only woman competing for the US in the series for this 2021 season?
Yes, absolutely. I feel very honored that I'm able to represent the US, and I'm really excited for the COTA race, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that will want to come out and show their support. So I'm very blessed to be able to do that.
You're currently competing in the GT Championship with Porsche, is that right?
So it was just a couple. It's just a couple amateur GT2 races in the SCCA series here in the States is what I'm doing last weekend and this weekend.
So how's it going, and what do you love most about this series?
It's going well. The car is obviously very fun to drive, and I'm learning a lot more about, it's quite a bit different compared to an open wheel car. So learning how to manage the tires and the brakes more with more horsepower and a lot more weight. So it's great. It's another thing to add to my resume and like all the info that I have driving different cars. So I think it's a great experience. It's going well so far. Qualified P2 and then P1 in the second qualifying, and then P2 in the first race, and we were winning the second race by a few seconds, but then unfortunately I had a right rear blowout, so I was unable to finish the race. But we're thinking it's going to go well for Sebring this weekend, and hope to finally bring home the win.
So after gaining all these experiences and all these different championships, what would you say your number one goal is as a racing driver? Would it be to reach Formula One, or is there any other prospects that you'd like to achieve?
For me, my long-term goal is to make it to IndyCar.
And what is it about IndyCar that drives you to want to reach the pinnacle of that sport?
Well, I think with IndyCar, I mean, it's different than F1 because it's more of a spec series, if you can say that. I mean, obviously there's other things that play into that, but it's very interesting to see with IndyCar how there was like 8 different race winners in the first 8 races or something like that last season. And so I think it's anybody can win almost, if you're in one of the top cars, then you have a chance of winning rather than just one team winning in F1. So I think that makes it interesting. And then obviously the ovals make it interesting. It's scary, but it's interesting and exciting. And I think it's a different element than just having the road courses all the time. So that's why I'm attracted to IndyCar, and it's obviously in the US, and so it's great to be a part of something that's so many look up to here in the States.
And will you make any moves towards that career goal this year? Have you got any plans that will help propel your IndyCar career forward?
I think being involved at WSeries really helps that push me forward, as well as I'm obviously trying to gather funding and support in order to run Indy Pro 2000. But as many know, racing is very expensive, so I haven't got that sorted yet. But hopefully we'll be back on the road to Indy very soon.
Well, as I understand it, you picked up a engineering academy position with Infinity, and I think that led to you working with the Renault F1 team. So what were those experiences like for you, and what did it teach you?
Those experiences were honestly amazing. 2019 couldn't have been a more pinnacle year for me, I guess, getting to work with Infinity and Renault, as well as being in the W Series. So it was definitely a full-on schedule, and I learned honestly so much from how a big corporation operates, with Infinity, to all the amazing details that the F1 team pays attention to with Renault. So I learned that I could take probably a few hours to tell you all the new things that I learned, but overall it was an amazing experience, and I'm really thankful to Infinity and to Renault for providing me that experience.
With the mechanical engineering side of things, is that a career path you're also looking to follow?
Yes, definitely. I supplement that alongside my racing. Right now I do some freelance stuff, whether it's data engineering, or I'm doing some design work for Formula Mazda right now, and just kind of taking the odds and ends, but making the racing my primary focus right now. But I still love engineering, and a bit of a geek sometimes on that stuff. So I definitely try to fulfill that part of who I am as well along the way.
So you've used the hashtag Drive Like a Girl previously. Can you tell us what that's all about?
I guess it started when I saw a P&G commercial years ago that was about, it asked all these different ages of kids, whether it was, it went from like young girls to older girls, young boys to older boys, and they were asked things like, okay, run like a girl, or throw like a girl, and like show us what that looks like. And so, the boys, young or old, when it was asked to throw like a girl, run like a girl, it was very like, oh, I can't throw and I can't run, and sort of thing. And the young girls, actually, when they asked to like throw like a girl and run like a girl, all they did was throw and run the best that they could. Like, it didn't matter, it was like a girl. And then when you ask the older girls, though, run like a girl, throw like a girl, they went to the, throw terribly and run terribly. So it was just kind of highlighted the issue, I think, in society, that we have this stigma that's like, girls are not good at, they're not good at things, and they're not good at athletic things. And so it's a bad thing to be like a girl. So I guess by me saying, drive like a girl, it's sort of reverting the stigma that comes with that, oh, you drive like a girl, that means you drive horribly. But I mean, I'm a girl and I drive, so what does that mean? I hope that it doesn't continue to be used as an insult, I guess. And that's my way of sort of trying to turn the tables on it. I think it definitely helps that, we can show that we could perform in more physically demanding cars like the F3 car or like the Indy Pro 2000 cars. But I still think there's obviously a long way to go, because I think there's some work to be done even in getting respect for racing drivers themselves, regardless of male or female, because most people don't understand the type of physical fitness it takes and the type of concentration that it takes mentally and physically in order to drive a race car well and fast. Because, for the average person, they think, oh, well, I drive my car around, and that's not hard at all. But it's just not something that obviously you would expect them to understand, because it's not part of their day-to-day life. And when you see the cars on track and all you see are the cars, you don't see, you can't see us underneath all of our gear and everything performing the hard work. So it's very understandable that there's a misconception.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit. What are 3 words that sum you up as a driver?
I think I'm trying to think of a word, but I feel like I think through things quite a lot. Like when I'm racing, I play out like scenarios in my head. Like I try to plan ahead. So I guess calculated is a good word. Passionate and determined.
Awesome. I love that. So you're obviously going to go far and make it to IndyCar just like you want by those 3 qualities.
We hope, and maybe a few $1 million along the way, but unfortunately.
Well, let's hope you win a few world championships in the next couple of years then. All right, Sabré, well, thank you so much for joining us.